Have you ever laid awake at 2 in the morning, heart pounding, just to obsessively dissect a passing frown from your coworker? Or perhaps you suddenly find yourself replaying a tiny, insignificant mistake from 3 entire years ago. Even right now. Have you ever typed a text message, deleted it, and typed it all over again, terrified of getting one single punctuation mark wrong? But why? Why does a highly intelligent brain voluntarily turn itself into an emotional meat grinder with no off switch? Why does your natural caution bring you sheer exhaustion instead of a clear solution? Listen closely. Today, we are not going to give you that useless advice to simply stop thinking. Instead, we will completely expose the hidden survival mechanism that is secretly manipulating your anxious mind. We are doing this so you can finally realize one undeniable truth. This is not your fault at all. Society and the people around you often treat your racing mind like a terrible habit. They tell you to just go outside, take a deep breath, and use pure willpower to turn it off. But modern science takes a completely different, fascinating view. Deep inside your brain exists something called the default mode network. This complex system automatically activates the exact moment you sit down to rest. For an average person, this network hums quietly in the background. But for you, it roars. It runs constantly at full volume, completely draining your precious physical and mental energy. To understand why this happens, we must look at the brilliant work of psychologist Susan Nolen-Hoeksema. She drew a vital boundary between two very different mental states. The first is reflection. Reflection means thinking deeply to actively find a way out of a problem. The second is rumination. Rumination is what you're actually doing. It is when you cycle through the exact same thoughts on an endless loop. It never solves the problem. It only freezes your pain perfectly in time. Look very closely at exactly what triggers this exhausting mental loop. It is almost never just about random, meaningless, inanimate objects. You do not spiral into absolute panic deciding what to eat for dinner. When your mind completely stalls, it is always about other people. It is about complex relationships. It is driven by an intense, terrifying fear that you might have accidentally hurt someone you deeply care about. What you are experiencing is not a mental flaw. It is a profound, beautiful level of deep empathy. The only problem is that your empathy has completely lost its brakes. Let us look closely at a woman named Anne. Anne is an incredibly capable person. She can confidently close a massive corporate deal or manage a sudden crisis at work without blinking an eye. But yesterday, Anne had to cancel a simple coffee date with a friend. A normal person types, "I am so sorry. Can we please reschedule?" They hit send in 10 seconds and move on. But Anne spends 30 agonizing minutes sweating over her phone. First, she writes the message. Then she deletes the word sorry, fearing it makes her look guilty. She reads it again and panics that she sounds far too cold, so she desperately types it back in. She stares blankly at the screen, obsessively wondering if her tone is somehow too harsh. She takes a screenshot and sends it to another friend, just to ask if it sounds okay. Half an hour slowly passes. Her chest is incredibly tight. Finally, trembling with sheer anxiety, she hits send on a text message that is almost exactly identical to her very first draft. And the exact moment it successfully delivers, she is completely paralyzed by the terrifying fear of exactly how the other person will react. This specific behavior perfectly highlights the single most heartbreaking internal paradox of them all. This intense hyper-awareness means that you constantly hold a brutal, relentless double standard. I want you to think very carefully about it for a second. You will happily spend 40 uninterrupted minutes comforting a crying friend. You will actively serve as a passionate, fiercely loyal defense attorney for everyone else, meticulously proving exactly why they are truly worthy of love and forgiveness. But the exact moment you are alone in the dark, the rules completely change. You stay awake all night long acting as the most ruthless, unforgiving judge for your own soul. You use that exact same brilliant mind to carefully analyze your own actions and ruthlessly sentence yourself as being completely worthless. You freely give the whole wide world your boundless compassion, but you tragically leave absolutely zero grace or forgiveness for yourself. So, where does this relentless mental cycle actually begin? We have to travel back in time to your childhood. Many people who overthink grew up in deeply unpredictable emotional environments. As a vulnerable child, you never quite knew what mood the adults around you would be in. To stay safe, you had to constantly scan the room. Your young brain learned that obsessively reading facial expressions and predicting emotional weather was the ultimate survival tool. Overthinking was not a flaw, it was your shield. The problem is that your brain is still actively running that exact same survival software today. It has a critical glitch. It cannot distinguish between a modern social threat and an ancient physical threat. To your amygdala, a completely unanswered text message feels exactly like a wild predator jumping out of the bushes. It instantly floods your entire body with cortisol. You experience an intense, completely real physical panic, desperately preparing to fight for your life when there is absolutely nothing to fight. This biological reality is exactly why forcing yourself to stop thinking is a terrible, unscientific idea. Psychologist Daniel Wegner proved this brilliantly with his famous white bear experiment. He brought subjects into a room and gave them one simple rule. Do not think of a white bear. But the second they were allowed to relax, the image of the bear rushed back much harder than before. Suppression creates a massive neurological debt. Every single time you aggressively command your brain to stop worrying, you set a mental trap. The very moment your tired guard drops, the overwhelming anxiety floods back twice as strong. We must stop pretending this is a gift. The internet loves to romanticize overthinking as a sign of profound emotional depth or superior intelligence. It is absolutely not a superpower. It is a ruthless thief that constantly steals your present moment. This creates a heartbreaking paradox regarding rest. You constantly complain about being exhausted, yet you are completely terrified of sitting in silence. You force yourself to stay chronically busy. You endlessly scroll on your phone or leave the television playing loud in the background. Why? Because the exact second the room goes quiet, the heavy wave of dark anxiety immediately crashes over you. You desperately trade true peace for constant, meaningless distraction. You literally run from your own mind. Picture your overthinking mind as a highly sensitive smoke detector. It is screaming loudly just because you burned a single piece of toast. You cannot simply take a hammer and smash the loud alarm to pieces, but you can learn to look closely at the smoke, realize it is only toast, and calmly ignore the deafening noise. So please stop trying to completely extinguish your anxious thoughts. That is a pointless battle. Instead, the next time you feel a dark mental spiral beginning, just pause. Treat yourself with grace. Gently ask your own mind, what exactly are you trying to protect me from right now? And more importantly, does this terrible danger actually still exist in my present reality today? If this video brought you some peace today, please leave a comment and share your story. You are not alone in this. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Please subscribe and ring the bell so we can keep exploring the human mind together. Click the video on your screen right now. I will see you there.